I don't know if you caught the very first line of the first reading, but it said the Lord degraded the land. I've been embarrassed before, but degraded would be top shelf. And what is it with Naphtali and Zebulun? What was wrong with the region? Well, it was an area where many armies would go during their conquests. It said when I read that Alexander the Great went through there. And there was often that the people in that area would be overrun and their places would be destroyed and things would be, taken, looted from them. It also said that there was very few of the Jewish people left, and they found it very hard to practice their faith. So why would Jesus begin his ministry in such a place? I mean, of all the places he could have begun, it is one of the most unlikely of places. But when we look at the life of Christ and we look at the way that God interacts with his people, a lot of things are unlikely. When we look at the selection of the apostles, he didn't go and get the scholars. He didn't go and get the rabbis. I'm sure there were good Jewish teachers. Sometimes when we watch movies, they paint all these men as evil or have those Simon Legree looks on their face. And I'm sure that really wasn't the fact. But Jesus didn't select them. He selected common men at work, doing their work. Now, I don't know if you know, I'm from Tampa, Florida, but spent a lot of my youth on Clearwater Beach. I love Clearwater, and you could get fresh fish there. But there's a problem with getting the fresh fish. I don't know if any of you have been around fishermen, but fishermen stink. They smell really bad. They take their smell home with them. But it is what they do. It's who they are. And Jesus called these men not because they were great scholars, not because they were accountants or scribes and lawyers. He called on men most unlikely to be called to be a follower and a very important follower of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. And many of us feel that we are unlikely ever would be called by Christ. But the truth is, yes, some of us are called to different things. Father Tim and Father Mike are called to the ordained priesthood. But in reality, all of us are called. All of us have a calling from God. And the question is, how do we respond to the call? I do not judge nor criticize you, but for some, it's just going to Mass on Sunday. That's the extent of my participation and action with God. But in truth, God calls us all to something else. Not necessarily to say anything, but in the way we live our lives. Because in many ways, my mother used to tell me, you can say anything you want, do it by example, and people will see it and know it very loudly. So all of us are called, but many of us feel very, very, very unable to be called. That when I was studying to be a deacon, they warned us that as our ordination approached, we would find ourselves questioning what the world were we doing. I got to be honest, I said, don't worry about that. That won't happen to me. And then one day I looked in the mirror and said, who in the Sam Hill do you think you are? That you're going to go and baptize people's babies, that you're going to preach from the ambo, that you're going to proclaim the gospel? You? One of the greatest fears of my whole life is going to heaven and the Lord's saying hello, and I go, Deacon Stephen, and he goes, Deacon, I didn't call you. But I've been told not to worry about that. But in truth, we all feel unworthy. We all feel that there's something about us that Jesus wouldn't want me. But the truth is, he wants every single one of us. Not all the same way, but he yearns and desires for every single one of us. It said that when he began his ministry, he preached, "Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand." To repent is to turn around, to go in a different direction. Do we feel that the direction that our lives are leading us is in the direction of Christ? If not, then we need to heed the words of Jesus in this very simple sentence, to repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. We all feel unworthy, but the truth is, each and every one of us is called to respond to God. We can begin, I know the ladies' night of reflection is next Thursday. And I've asked a couple of ladies, are you coming? And, oh, no, Deacon, that's not for me. That's for the good ladies. And I tell them, actually, no, it's not. But I know that life gets very complicated. And sometimes at the end of the day, we need about 10 more hours. But I encourage you to find time in your life to be able to respond to the call. It's there. It's there in your heart. You will hear it. And so we move from here and to receive the Lord in the Blessed Eucharist to help us strengthen our lives and our souls so that we can respond to his call.